Your Excellency Shri Narendra Modi, Prime Minister of India, Your Excellencies, I must first commend Prime Minister Modi for summoning the second Voice of the Global South Summit. The success of the first summit has ensured this meeting. It is to further the vision that we have of one earth, one family, one future. Unfortunately, on this issue, there is a wide gap between the global south and the global north. India is in a position to bridge that gap, and we wish the Prime Minister all success in this effort. Since I spoke at the last meeting, there have been new developments. Though the focus was on economic issues, we have to take into consideration also the political issues, which is the background. We have seen continued fighting in Ukraine. We have seen Hamas attack Israel and Israel attack Gaza. At the same time, we have not seen any progress in removing the settlers from the West Bank, which is the entitlement of the Palestinians. There are tensions in other areas. Within this background, we find there still has not been sufficient progress in regard to economic issues. First and foremost is the question of the debt settlement. As you know, Sri Lanka reached bankruptcy, but now we are on our way to have debt sustainability, which I hope we will achieve by end of the year. But that doesn't mean that all can do it, and Sri Lanka supports the write-off of debts of all low-income countries. That has to take place. Let us also look at the environment and the issues affecting the climate. We are attending the COP28 in a few days' time, but there hasn't been sufficient progress on the loss and damage fund. We cannot accept the proposition of the global north that it should be confined only to the developing island states. There has to be a criteria to bring in other countries which also require funding. Therefore, it is essential that we reach an agreement, otherwise it will only result in the two sides growing further apart. This is not the only issues we have. We want to see a restructuring of the multilateral development banks representing the realistic position of the global economy. These must take place, and the global north must agree to it. There is also the question of trade. In the last 3 decades, we have seen economic power being transferred to Asia and now into Africa. Now, this process must continue, but there has been disruptions in the international trade. For instance, the WTO is now being disregarded. First, it was the issue of not appointing members to the appellate body, but now it's a total disregard, and this is being done by the global north without consultation with the global south. We must resist it. We must ensure that the global south is also able to write the rules. If one side writes the rules, we cannot accept it. All must get together, write the rules. There must be unity of voices and unity of purpose. Otherwise, we cannot succeed. I must also mention here, as I did last time, Sri Lanka's economic development, because this is where the South-South cooperation matters. As I mentioned earlier, it was India that came to our help with a loan of $3.5 billion. We could not have survived. And I must also thank Bangladesh again for the $200 million loan they gave us. We are in the process of repaying those loans. but we have realized that there has to be closer cooperation between our two countries. In this background, Prime Minister Modi and I came to an agreement on the Indo-Sri Lanka Economic Partnership Vision. It's a far-reaching one. We are dealing with maritime connectivity, air connectivity, energy and power connectivity. We are establishing a high capacity grid between Sri Lanka and India. We are leveraging India's rapid digitalization for Sri Lanka's purposes. We are having Indian rupee as a currency for trade settlement. India and Sri Lanka will be involved in the development of the Trincomalee port and the surrounding areas, including an economic zone, and of course, the full utilization of the oil tanks in Trincomalee. We will also study the possibilities of land connectivity between our two countries. Now, this is what I call a genuine cooperation. It's not only that India helped us, but now we are going ahead with economic cooperation. As India grows, and the fast growth of India will also help Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka will also have agreements with Bangladesh. We are also promoting our companies to invest in Bangladesh, in Myanmar, Cambodia, Laos, East Africa and West Africa. We have already come to a free trade agreement with Singapore. We are about to conclude one with Thailand. We will go ahead with Malaysia and Indonesia, and finally Vietnam. We will also have made an application to join the RCEP. We feel that there has to be more South-South cooperation. Therefore, I hope in this discussion that we could come to a framework agreement on how the global South will cooperate and what are the basic issues on which we agree and which must be included in the rules, new rules that are being written for the global economic order. So again, let me thank Prime Minister Modi and conclude my speech.